If you think dealing with neighborhood drama is just about noisy kids or misplaced trash cans, wait until you hear how one entitled HOA president nearly ruined my day until I brought out the big guns. I never imagined that a seemingly ordinary day in my quiet suburban neighborhood would escalate into a full-blown turf war against a tyrant. But as I soon learned, when you're dealing with an overzealous HOA president who goes by Karen, it can feel like you're living in a twisted version of a suburban drama. It started like any other morning. The sun was just beginning to peek over the rooftops, and I was sipping my coffee, enjoying the calm. But as I stepped out of my house, I noticed something odd, a brightly colored notice taped to my front door. My heart sank as I read the bold, angry message, a violation ticket. Apparently, my blue pickup truck, parked in my driveway as it always had been for the past 6 years, was now a problem. Karen, the HOA president, had declared that my truck violated the neutral color palette rule. According to her, every vehicle visible from the street must match an established color harmony, and my perfectly maintained, shiny blue Silverado did not fit the bill. I couldn't believe it. I had parked there night after night without a single complaint until Karen, with her newfound sense of authority, decided it was time for a crackdown. I marched out to confront her, holding the violation ticket in one hand and my disbelief in the other. There she was, arms crossed and clipboard in hand, with that trademark smirk that made it clear she believed the world revolved around her petty rules. "Your truck is an eyesore," she declared, her tone as cold as the violation itself. "It disrupts the aesthetic integrity of our neighborhood." I pointed out that it was a 2022 model, modern, sleek, and nothing like the rusty clunker she seemed to imagine. But Karen was unmoved. With a patronizing tone, she demanded that I either repaint my truck or face escalating fines within 48 hours. Later that morning, as if the fine wasn't enough, I discovered an even more infuriating twist. My driveway, which I'd always used without issue, was now being deliberately blocked. I stepped outside to find Karen's car parked directly in front of my driveway. There it sat, a shiny, expensive vehicle positioned with military precision, as if to remind me that Karen wasn't just enforcing rules, she was waging war. I called the police immediately, desperate for help. But the officer on the scene shrugged and said, "Ma'am, your car is parked on your property. Technically, she's parked legally on the street. There's nothing we can do." I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. Here was a woman using her authority to create a personal inconvenience, and the law didn't seem to have my back. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more absurd, my neighbor Mike, a retired Marine with a no-nonsense attitude, stepped in. Mike had seen the unfolding drama from his porch and couldn't resist getting involved. With a twinkle in his eye and a quiet confidence that only years of service could bring, he walked over to Karen's car. "Karen, move your car," Mike said, his voice calm but firm. When she tried to retort, he simply pulled out a hydraulic jack from his truck and placed it strategically under her vehicle's front tire. "I'm just checking your tire pressure," he quipped, a smile playing on his lips. The look on Karen's face was priceless, panic mixed with a sudden realization that she was in over her head. With a huff and a muttered curse, she hurriedly moved her car, leaving me with a fleeting moment of triumph. But Karen wasn't done. That very afternoon, I learned that she had filed a formal complaint with the HOA, this time targeting my business. My truck wasn't just a pickup, it was part of my livelihood. The complaint threatened to have my company's fleet permit revoked, a move that would have severe consequences for my delivery business. Frustration boiled inside me as I spent hours poring over municipal ordinances and HOA guidelines, searching for any loophole that could save my day. And then, hidden in the labyrinth of bureaucratic language, I found it, a legal provision that allowed residents to use their property in ways that might seem unconventional, provided they didn't break any actual laws. A thought struck me, a wild, almost insane idea. What if I parked something utterly unexpected in my driveway? I mused. And just like that, the seed of an epic comeback was planted. After weighing the pros and cons and sharing a few knowing glances with Mike, I decided to go all in. I was going to buy a tank. Yes, a tank. It took a few frantic phone calls, some extensive research, and a bit of convincing from my lawyer friend, Jeff, but soon enough, I found a decommissioned armored personnel carrier that was legal to own and, more importantly, legal to park on my property. The day the tank arrived, the entire neighborhood was buzzing with anticipation. As the tank rumbled down our quiet suburban street, its heavy treads crushing the pavement beneath, neighbors emerged from their houses. Phones were out, recording every moment as the mechanical beast rolled to a stop right in front of my driveway. I stepped outside, heart pounding with a mix of adrenaline and satisfaction, while Karen peered out from behind her curtains, her face a mix of shock and fury. I couldn't help but smile as I walked over to the tank, patting its cold, metallic side. This, I announced loudly enough for everyone to hear, is my driveway now. The reaction was instantaneous. Cheers erupted, cameras flashed, and even those who'd remained silent in the past now felt emboldened to stand up against the petty tyranny of Karen. Karen's response was swift, but ultimately futile. At a hastily convened HOA meeting, the mood in the room had shifted dramatically. Homeowners who'd once cowered under Karen's draconian rules were now speaking out. They shared stories of fines for trivial matters, harassment over personal choices, and an overall sense of oppression that had permeated our community. I stood up and recounted my own ordeal, the fine for my blue truck, the blocked driveway, and the subsequent mounting of a tank as a protest. What started as a personal fight had now become a symbol of resistance against an overbearing system. The meeting room buzzed with agreement and even laughter at the absurdity of it all. One homeowner even joked, "If a tank makes our driveway look cooler, sign me up." It wasn't long before local news outlets picked up the story. Headlines flashed across screens. HOA tyrant meets her match. Tank in suburbia sparks uproar. Interviews followed, and soon the spotlight turned to Karen's questionable management practices. Investigations into her misuse of HOA funds and her pattern of petty fines began to surface, casting a long shadow over her reign. As the media attention grew, the once mighty Karen found herself isolated. Neighbors who had feared her wrath now openly sided with me. A class action lawsuit was filed against the HOA, and it wasn't just about my truck anymore. It was about reclaiming our community from a tyrant. During a heated city council hearing, the evidence was laid out: misallocated funds, fines for baseless violations, and a long list of grievances from homeowners. The room was packed with residents who had endured years of her overreach, and as one by one they recounted their experiences, Karen's veneer of control began to crumble. In the end, the council voted to dismantle the HOA board, and Karen was forced to step down. The police, who had earlier shrugged off my complaints, now took her misconduct much more seriously. Charges were filed, and it wasn't long before Karen was escorted away in handcuffs, her once imposing power reduced to ashes. In the weeks that followed, our neighborhood began to heal. The tank, now a local legend, became a symbol of our collective stand against tyranny and injustice. I never intended for things to escalate to this level. I just wanted to park my truck in peace, but sometimes, standing up for your rights means taking risks. Our community has since reformed its rules to ensure transparency and fairness. The HOA has been overhauled, and the new board is made up of residents who truly care about our quality of life. I still hear neighbors laughing and joking about that fateful day when a tank rolled into our midst, a reminder that when you unite against injustice, even the most absurd obstacles can be overcome. As I look back on that wild chapter of my life, I can't help but smile. It wasn't just about a blue truck or a blocked driveway. It was about reclaiming our autonomy and proving that no one should be allowed to dictate how we live in our own homes. And sometimes a little bit of bold, unconventional defiance can change everything.